welcome to this video tutorial. This is Mr. Aguilar, your art teacher. What you see right now on screen is a warm-up sheet, and I'm taking various tools like a brush, and I dip it in ink, different pens, and I'm going through just doing two things. One, I'm warming up my hand, and the second thing is I'm testing out different materials and the marks they make. Because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for my demo piece. So the first tool I use is a simple brush. I believe it's a number 2. And I'm using black ink. And I did a quick little sketch of a leaf, and this is for our Expressive line project. And again, I didn't know where I wanted to go with this. This is very much an exploratory exercise, something that I want you guys to do. I have a rough idea, but I'm not quite sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly ink this whole illustration. And then afterwards I'm going to come back in with another tool, and I'm going to be adding some textural lines. And right now I'm moving at about 6 times the speed, so I just sped up the film. I'm just about done laying out my inks. So for this project, we talked about different types of lines and different types of mediums. So there's a couple things that go into this. One, you have to have a solid plan. And to get that solid plan, you got to explore and experiment. You can use pastels, you can use charcoal, you can use ink, you could use liquid graphite, markers, pens. There's a lot of tools that we have. So what I decided to come back through with is I use a toothpick, or you can use any like small stick or piece of wood, and I dip the toothpick into the ink, and I'm going through and creating different effects. So some of that is splatter, and some of that is simply drawing with a toothpick. And here's the deal with traditional mediums. We can do traditional art, so we can do simple sketches, simple drawings, simple illustrations. But if we want to start exploring different textures, we got to look at different mediums, and we got to look at different tools. And until you explore, you're not going to know what to do. So that's a big part of this project. And again, right now I'm just adding a little bit more splatter. For the second one, I did a quick little drawing of a pine cone, and I'm doing this whole thing with the toothpick and the ink, so no preliminary lines being drawn with a pen or a brush. This is a 100% toothpick. And what I was looking at is I just wanted to see what are the type of lines that I can get with just a toothpick and ink. And I might try this again with liquid graphite. And you could also do something like grab a charcoal vine stick, the really thin charcoal vines, and do something like this with it too. So I made these sketches really simple, really fast, because I wanted to do a quick demo video and just kind of go through the process. And sometimes you have successes, sometimes you have failures. For this one, I wasn't quite happy with the end product. And I scanned these images, and I'll be placing them at the end of the video. And again, this is a dry run, so I have have no idea what's. Oh, looks like I went back to testing, and then I went to the next illustration. Looks like I cut off a bit of the pinecone video. So this one, I did a quick sketch, and then I added some watercolor on Bristol board. Now Bristol board is not meant for watercolor. I just wanted a textural background of blues, because I felt that the blue kind of added to the medium. And I used a couple of different tools. So I used an ink pen, I used a brush pen, and you know, instead of using a brush pen, I could simply use a brush dipped in ink. So this part's going to be about 4 minutes, and I moved at 6 times the speed. So this whole thing from start to finish, as far as the inking process, took me about 24 minutes. The drawing itself took me about 5 or 6 minutes. The watercolor, 5 or 6 minutes, just adding it on there, letting it dry. So start to finish overall, and again, this is small. Now I am testing stuff out. This took about 35-40 minutes total from start to finish. And there was a few things I wasn't too happy with, so I went back in for a few more minutes and added a few more inks. And I put 2 variations up here. So you'll see the first variation is after I've added a little bit more ink in the outfit. And then the second variation, I kind of added these like swooshes of like a bluish gray coming up from the arm and skin tones. And I added a little bit more value to the face for the shadows. I'm also adding textural lines to this, so I'm using a little hatching and cross hatching to create some shadows in the face. My plan with this is I'm going to do a second version of this larger. But I'm going to do it in charcoal, and I'm going to try to get, I'm going to use some of the same techniques, but I want to see what the difference is with charcoal versus ink and watercolor. And yeah, and I'm making up details as I go along. So that's one of the things that I fixed afterwards. I didn't care for some of the details in the dress. And basically I did 3 sketches back to back to back. I wanted to do a quick demo for the lesson. This is a new lesson. Again, we're talking about line quality, line variation. We're doing some exploratory exercises with mediums. We're going to be going over a brainstorm process. I'm going to try to help you guys out with topics, like things to draw, give you a list of things that you can pick from. just to try to narrow down the options and to allow you guys to move at a faster pace versus, you know, trying to randomly think of like, what can I do? So I'm going to give a couple of base topics, see where you guys go from there, and we'll see how this project turns out. So there's the leaf, which I think was really successful. I like that one a lot. Nice textural lines on this one. I didn't particularly care for the finished product. And then here's the first variation of this. I added a little bit more into the dress, and then here's where I added those streaks coming up from the arm. I just wanted to make it a little bit more movie.